they introduced it into the budget resolution. So to Don Nichols last week, he said, you know, I'm thinking of it's been done before.
Oh, it has?
Yeah. I said, do you put the Milcom bill and then you put an additional? It's been done before.
Oh, it has?
Yeah, as an emergency and the sausage being made is a very ugly process.
Good afternoon. I am very pleased to welcome President Pastrana. President Pastrana is a true leader who has earned world respect through his comprehensive plan and his determined effort to bring peace and the rule of law to his people. It's no secret that Colombia is under siege by drug traffickers and illegal armed groups that have victimized average citizens in both cities and the countryside and sought to terrorize judges, prosecutors, and other judicial personnel. The United States has pledged to assist Colombians in building security, halting the production of illegal drugs, and exploring prospects for a peaceful end to their long-standing internal conflict. Earlier this year, President Clinton proposed a $1.6 billion in emergency supplemental appropriations for Colombia, and that request has since been approved by the House of Representatives but is being delayed in the Senate. Today, I renew the administration's call for rapid action. 4/5 of the cocaine entering our country either comes from Colombia or is transported through it. Most of Colombia's heroin production also ends up here. Throughout the Americas, drug-related activities fuel crime and corruption, aggravate social problems, and retard economic progress. The emergency aid President Clinton has requested will help Bogota extend its authority over parts of the country now dominated by guerrillas, paramilitaries, and drug traffickers. It will support alternative development programs, increase our backing for narcotics interdiction, and strengthen mechanisms for judicial reform, human rights, and humanitarian assistance. Recognizing that neither criminals nor conflicts respect national borders, the President's request will also support counter-drug initiatives in other Andean countries. Only Colombians can devise a solution for Colombia's ills, and President Pastrana has put forward a bold plan for doing just that. It's urgent that we support him, not with the promise of help, but with its reality, not eventually, but now. In our meeting today, we discussed the administration's aid requests, Plan Colombia, President Pastrana's political reform initiative, and the central importance of building strong democratic institutions and improving respect for human rights. To see us again.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Mr. President.
Yes, I think nothing more to add about what Madam Secretary has said about our meeting. I think it was a very productive meeting. We talked about the Plan Colombia, how it's going forward in the U.S. Congress, and we hope to get this aid from the United States as soon as possible. We talk about our political reforms and how to implement the strategy to fight narcotics and to implement these alternative development programs in these areas in which we have problems right now in our country. So once again, said to Madam Secretary, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be here in the State Department, and I think that we're open for questions.
Betsy, please, thank you.
But it was, so as I imagine you have questions, the same thing happened with Roberto yesterday.
Good
Morning. We had a meeting with, have lunch with the Secretary of Treasury, because I think it's important for you out of what we are proposing in Colombia, and it's fair.
You see Bob Sherman this year?
No, I haven't. I'm going to see Bob tonight. We're going to see Bob.
claro, demostrar eso, si se restean con eso, va a ser. Ah, no, él ha mandado.
Okay.
Sí.
The easiest thing, I mean, we know who you are and what you are and why you're here and what you're doing here. What do you think about, have you had a good reception? Are you worried? Are you pleased? Are you unhappy? And then we'll just talk, because we have a lot of
The issues of my campaign when I was running for president was trying to bring a change in and fight basically corruption. The first thing, now we're 6,000.
Ryan has something to give you. It's an answer, Ryan. No, answer on Shelby. Shelby.
We're having some people talk about defense legislation, and we're going into. I apologize that my Spanish is not proficient enough yet to speak in Spanish, so I'll speak in English. But I just had another very good meeting with President Pastrana. Assured him of my commitment and the commitment of the Congress, and I believe the administration, to provide aid to Colombia, to support economic development, and to assist in fighting the drug war there in Colombia. It's a very important country that we want to have a strong relationship with. We're very supportive of President Pastrana's efforts, and while sometimes the legislative process can get distracted into procedural discussions, here's the main point. We are committed to this Colombian aid package. We're going to get it at the earliest possible date, hopefully in late May or early June, and we'll have language that says that when the President signs that particular bill, that the Colombian drug portion of it, or the Colombian aid package, would be available at that time. In other words, in the year 2000. And so while the legislative process still moves forward, I want to make it very clear that we are still, and I am still committed to the Colombian aid package.
Muy satisfecho. Yo creo que, como dijo ya el senador Lott, lo importante es que hay un compromiso que se está buscando, como ya lo ha reiterado él, los procedimientos, los mecanismos, pero estamos seguros, como también él lo ha reiterado, que hacia finales de mayo o comienzos de junio podamos tener nosotros los recursos para el Plan Colombia, como claramente ha sido el compromiso del Congreso y del gobierno de los Estados Unidos. Let me thank your President, Christian Anderson, for this generous invitation, and all of you for making me feel at home and for easing the anxiety every politician feels standing before a large room full of journalists. Let me also express my admiration for this society's long commitment to upholding the First Amendment, promoting and protecting the free flow of information, and nurturing the great responsibility that comes with an open and independent press. And in this time of unparalleled prosperity and of leadership for the United States, when our globalizing world grows constantly more interconnected, those everywhere who believe in freedom are grateful for your work with the Freedom Forum and for your continuing self-examination of how your newspapers can better cover the international arena and bring responsible and relevant news to your readers. In the Cold War, the United States was deeply concerned with the way it was seen by other nations. In the post-Cold War era, other nations are concerned about how we are viewed politically and economically in the United States. We Colombians welcome and invite increased interaction with the entire spectrum of your media to exchange ideas, challenge misperception, and widen our understanding. The last president of Colombia to speak at your convention was President Virgilio Barco in the year 1986. And from this platform, President Barco made a strong plea for the United States and Latin America to do more together in the war on drugs. Here, the first steps were taken to lead to the landmark 1919 drug summit attended by President Bush in Cartagena. The effort marked the beginning of the end of the Medellin drug cartel. Today, I return here with a similar urgent call for both our nations and the entire international community once again to do more in the fight against a new wave of drug trafficking and drug violence. I also come here to speak candidly about a dangerous problem of misinformation about my country, Colombia. As you know better than anyone, in the era of instant information, it can be difficult to distinguish impressions from truth and the headline of one news cycle from the cycle of history. Today, I ask you, in a decisive time for my country, to reflect with me on the real Colombia, our strengths, our problems, our resolve, and our prospects. Attorneys, prosecutors.
How long will you be in town? I'll be this night and this afternoon. I have a meeting with the Minister of Equipment. We have lunch. 3:30 we'll have a meeting with Prime Minister Blair. We need to really get the commitment also for the Europeans to help us. We're going to have a common table on July 7th in Madrid.
Okay. All right. Thanks, that's it. They have to leave. If they've already.
You're a struggling country.
One moment, let me just get a shot.
In the world. And
Thank
it's been 50 years, I suppose, since
All right, thank you, sir.
Jorge died.
Taking the time, I just saw television around the floor of the Senate, and I know you're going through very difficult times, and I know you're interested in this funding for regaining. I guess my question is that it's not that as long as we are creating the demand, that's to meet the demand, right?
Well, thank you. Your time also, precious time that you have right now to take the opportunity to have this meeting. We had breakfast with a very good friend of yours, with Bernie Aronson. And
A wonderful man.
a very good man, a very good friend of Colombia, a very good friend of us. And thank you very much.
Ayúdeme con lo de la...
But I actually learned
The training and everything. Next time
Whatever
they
you
come, we'll
want.
get them to but they have been, you should see how they have helped, they really, really have
We do
helped us.
whatever he tells us. Don't bother. Don't tell us the details, whatever he wants. It's enough.
Mr. Minister, how are you? Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Bill, how are you?
Mr. President, welcome to you.
How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you.
I'm going to leave Mr. Delahunt to be my representative here from the committee. I actually have some constituent issues I have to deal with. Mr. President, did want to come by and say hello.
President, how are you?
See you again.
So good to see you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, it's great to be with you. You met the members? Right. They're great members. It's been very helpful.
The Minister of
Legislation is very controversial.
It's very controversial.
Yes, we have a real problem. It's been too many guns. We agree that it's The last campaign, I was going door to door, and a man came to the door, and he said, "Oh, Ghepardt, I like you, I'm gonna vote for you." He said, "I've always voted for you, but you're a hunter, I'm sure you use them lawfully." Oh, he said, "Oh, that's reasonable." He said, "I'd be for that too." But he said, and so that's their power, because they say to members, you don't do what we do.
The first elected mayor of the capital, Colombia's capital and largest city. When I was mayor, when I was running for mayor, kidnapped by drug lords and held hostage for 1 week, only to be rescued by brave policemen who risked their own lives to save mine. So I know how difficult a job it is to be a mayor, and I salute all of you for your service to the public. The renaissance in many American cities over the past 2 decades, characterized by revitalized urban centers, the creation of new businesses, and dynamic centers of culture is admired around the world. In countries like Colombia and elsewhere in the developing world, we look to America's cities to learn how to address the challenge of growth, foster economic and social development, and provide essential services to millions of people who cluster in our own urban centers. Over the past 3 decades, Colombia has become an increasingly urbanized nation. Today, more than 70% of our 40 million people live in cities. Economic opportunities have lured people from the countryside, but sadly, the urbanization of Colombia is also the consequence of declining opportunities in agriculture, and lately because of violence fueled by drug trafficking in rural areas of the country. I understand it's very rare for a head of government to address the U.S. Conference of Mayors. There are a few issues that transcend both domestic urban policy and international relations. I am grateful you have extended to me this invitation because I want to talk with you this afternoon about one issue that does have both clear domestic and foreign policy implication for the United States and for Colombia. It is one that all of you must confront every day, the issue of illegal drug trafficking and consumption. At the core of this issue is how we, our 2 nations, can better cooperate to rid the scourge of illegal drugs and drug-related violence that threatens Colombia, American cities, and the international community.